So, hey guys, today we're going to be discussing how to play Danger Dark World. And it's not that hard, it's kind of just RNG a little bit, but there are ways to increase uh, the odds and kind of play around the odds. So, right here with this hand, there are certain things I will want to do. If I want to really high roll here, I might really want Chupacabra to resolve and specifically hit Ceruli. If I want to increase the odds of that, what I would do is I would set trade in. And if you want to increase the odds a little bit more, you could also normal summon Snow, and that's fine. And that increases the odds of Chupacabra hitting Ceruli from right now it's 20% to 33%. But that also increases the odds of Chupacabra's effect just making you go neg1 by Chupacabra hitting itself. So the safe play that we're going to go for is we're going to try to search for maybe another danger or something with trade in. So we're going to trade in here, and then we're going to activate Chupacabra, and we did in fact get another danger, so that's nice. So we have some insurance or backup if Chupacabra does not resolve, and it hits Ceruli anyway, so that was one of the better things it could have hit, but now I don't have Rainbow in hand. Rainbow would have been the optimal target for no, right? But since we do have access to Grapha at this point, we're pretty chillin'. Alright, so Ceruli effect, summon, Grapha effect will pop, but specifically Grapha's effect here is going to be modified by Ceruli, so we're going to look at one random card in our opponent's hand. If we did Gold Wu Lord of Dark World's effect. This effect is to destroy two cards your opponent controls, and you would have to target it, but yeah, that there's nothing for me to destroy here. And then we have Snow, Light of Dark World. The effect here is to target one monster in your opponent's graveyard and special summon it, which there's nothing, so we're going to just toss Grapha here and hope for the best with the Jackalope. And we hit Effect Valor here. Effect Valor and Infinite Impermanence don't really matter that much. So with our danger effects, we're not really getting affected. With our field spell effect, we're not really getting affected by like Effect Valors or Imperms too much. They can sometimes matter if you have like bad hits and whatnot, but for the most part, they're fine. But yeah, we're just going to actually rip Effect Valor, and I can tell now in hindsight, because I know this guy's entire hand, he only has two monsters, so that's a less than 50% chance for him to get like sacked by me taking a monster. And this is the only hand trap that he has that's a monster, so yeah, rough. Anyway, Jackalope effect. Jackalope will pitch itself. Then we're going to do the effect to return here, do the effect to return again. Then we're going to make the zombie vampire because the effect failure, I can use it as a right here. I can use it as a level 8 because this card is not owned by me, it is owned by my opponent. Doesn't really matter how we get the effect failure to our field. But alright, our opponent drops the imperm, which is just fine. And then we'll make Dugaris effect here. And we'll pitch the Snow, grab the Genta. So here we're just going to grab the field spell, we're going to activate the field spell, we're going to activate the Nessie. Unlucky Nessie hit. Okay, then we'll grab the Tsuchinoko. Try again. And then, alright, now we have gold being special summoned, Grepha will put it back. So we're going to keep trying to, essentially whenever we can, we should be summoning back Grepha and Rainbow, and the reasoning behind this is simply because whenever we draw into a danger, we want the danger to draw. So I don't really care which Dark World card gets hit, as long as my danger card doesn't snipe itself. And the best way we can increase our odds of not sniping our own dangers is to just continually put back our Dark World cards. So we resolve Grapha whenever we can. And here we're going to bash Genta, do the effect of special, and we through the talents, so I'm pretty sure I don't know exactly what effect I want to do with talents. So we're going to put back talents. Also, we're going to use our yugioh to fix our hand a little bit and maybe look for some dangers. And we have beginning of the end as well. So we'll just resolve that whenever we can. So right now, we can't resolve it, so that's why I wouldn't be activating it right now, but alright. Add Lucent. We're going to set that. Mothman. Good hit. And now the game is over because I have drawn Corridor. So now I'm going to have to set up my board here. Apollosa. So we're going to just check what's in our opponent's hand to see if there's... Well, because my opponent is actually on 60 cards and I have no idea what they're playing. So my concern would be, well, if they had something really annoying, like maybe Rainbow Bridge or something in hand. So I'm just going to give it a quick check. And I don't really need to draw because, you know, I have everything, essentially. From this point, I could probably, if I were to keep going, I could go through the entirety of my deck. But I'm not going to go that far. So instead, I'll just hand loop my opponent for everything, essentially. So we're going to put back a card. What card did we put back? I don't even remember. It doesn't show. I think it doesn't fully matter, but alright. I think... What would it have been? Maybe it would be... the monster, because you can like maybe Miracle Fusion or something, and the other two in the graveyard don't do anything, which is like fine, right? So the big thing about Danger Dark World, to be honest, is time. So you have to keep constantly making moves as fast as possible. So that's one thing to really keep in mind here, I guess. So we're going to Corridor, grab the Cerulean, discard the Cerulean, and then we're going to hit the Rainbow here. And we're going to prefer to hit Rainbow over Lucent here, because we have a Cerulean in the graveyard, and we can also do a search for Grapha to pop the Cerulean afterwards. So we can do that a bit later. So we hit that, grab this. This grabs Gates. We're going to replace Gates with Gates. We're going to discard Cerulean, go again. This time we will do Lucent though, to get the other one out of the deck, because, well, here I think I'm running low on time, so I'm not going to pitch Rainbow here, despite Rainbow being like a little bit better in general. The reason Rainbow is better is because I would get to add a card to my hand, but I would probably have to discard in the end phase, so we're not going to worry about that. We're going to just hand loop our opponent instead. So, alright, I let them keep the Stratos. I think removing Stratos is the better play here, but knowing when you've made mistakes is essentially how you improve, so whatever, it's fine here. It genuinely will not matter in this case, so we don't have to worry about it too much. But yeah, because we only have one card in our opponent's hand, we can do this anyways. It's not a big deal. Alright, continuing on, we just make Hope Harbinger, and this will probably just be enough, right? So we have 4 negates on Apollosa and a spell negate with Hope Harbinger. So the only thing that's really activatable here would be some sort of crap. And we will have... we will be able to play on our turn, like, pretty freely. At this point in time, I think I have about 80 seconds remaining. So we're chilling. And also, I do not in fact play Silva in this deck list. I will just loop with Cerulean because, well, why not, right? And yeah, I've gotten hit by a surprisingly high amount of trolls. So Silva is just a little bit safer. That's about it. But Silva, if we just look at this card, aside from the place exactly 2 cards from their hand to the bottom of the deck effect, in which case this effect honestly is still kind of trash. Silva, I believe is pretty trash because, you know, bad level 5. Lucent instead can make Beatrice, so yeah, that's a point down from Silva, I would say. And then there's also the fact that Silva genuinely does nothing. If you just special summon it, it's just a guy, right? So that sucks. If we hit this in our hand, it's also just a guy. And Lucent instead allows us to summon any Dark World monster from our deck to the field. And you know what, guys? I lied. It doesn't just let you summon any Dark World card. I mean, it does, but the reason is because it allows you to summon any fiend from your main deck. So if we're feeling really evil, we could summon Barrier Statue, for example. We could summon like anything we want off of this, as long as we resolve it with Ceruli. So there's that, and then there's also the fact that you see this hand loop. I could have done this without using Triple Tactics talent or using Silva. In fact, I didn't use Silva. So one thing I could have done is, instead of making Hope Harbinger to set up the Triple Tactics talent, we would use, I believe, right now, judging from the hand, I would link off Lucent, Grapha, Rainbow for Nightmare Unicorn, and then I would discard whatever. And I don't think it super matters here, honestly. We'll discard whatever, we'll target Ceruli, return it to the deck, and then I'll use the discard for Gates, because I'm pretty sure I still had that discard. If not, I can make Muckraker and do it. But alright, we'll do that, and then we can also return the Ceruli here. And then we'll return Rainbow, and then we'll with Grapha, and then we'll discard Ceruli, discard Rainbow, and then we'll summon the Ceruli that I put back into the deck with the Nightmare Unicorn to get the other discard. And if I really felt like looping an extra card from this point with the Ceruli loop, I would just have to resolve my dangers for a bit and try to dig a little bit, I guess. That's essentially how that works. Or I could grab technically Snow. So with Snow, I can grab, let's see, where's it? Well, I can grab Dark World Archives, or I can grab a Session. A Session is a little bit better for controlled discards. So if we fusion summon a Dark World monster, it counts as discarding them from the hand when we use them as material, or something like that. So we can discard Ceruli, banish Grapha in the graveyard, or we can send the Grapha from hand, whatever's fine. And then we also have the effect to add a Session back to hand, which discards a card. So we can do that to discard Ceruli 2 more times. And with Grapha and Rainbow, we can loop all of the cards we need and mess around with our extra deck a little bit, essentially to just perform the hand loop here. So yeah, Silva being put back to 3, who cares? Since technically you do need copies of Ceruli to resolve, I genuinely think just playing like 3 copies of Ceruli is more fun anyways, and it's a little bit more complicated to resolve than just like Ceruli Silva. But oh yeah, forgot about one thing with Silva. Your opponent has to put back exactly 2 cards, so if they only have 1 card left in hand, they won't be affected by the Silva effect to put back, and they will put back 0 cards. So that's the thing. And then the other thing is let's see, what was it? You can add it with Rainbow, I guess, but the thing with Silva is that it's just not that useful of a card because it doesn't add that much to the deck already. But all right, my opponent has in fact 0 cards, so yeah, giving up is a valid solution. And then here I have one more replay, I guess. But the rest are like in general not that good because my opponent either scoops really fast or I get hit with Droll really fast, which becomes completely unplayable. So my opponent has chosen going second. All right. So here, we're just going to rip the Kaiman. And then we're going to just RNG do some hits, and we get a really lucky hit here. And we do know our opponent's hand. Doesn't really matter here. We're going to Rainbow Effect. So when you specifically have Dark World Archives, this is a really specific situation, but we would need specifically a Dark World card or something. Well, not really. We would just need any card in our hand, and we would need to have a Dark World monster on the field and Rainbow in hand. And we can kind of do this combo, so we can Chainlink 1, Archives, and then we can Chainlink 2, Rainbow. And we can do Rainbow's effect to add a guy, so in this case we'll be adding Lucent, and then Lucent will special summon itself when we discard it off of Archives, and we get to draw essentially just 2 cards for absolutely free. So this is a combo I really like with Archives, essentially, right? And these effects are both triggers, so we can choose the chain link order, so we can technically mess it up a little bit. So, alright. Now here we're going to make a Kashik, return the Chupacabra effect. If I recall correctly, my opponent has either Imperm or Veiler. Right. So now we grab the Gates effect to banish. And then here we have levels 4-4 set up for Dugaris complete, I guess. So we're going to do some more cards here. We're going to resolve these. And after seeing this, I have changed my mind, I guess. And we can still normal summon Genta if we want to make Dugaris like that. So, alright. We're going to return Genta. We also have the option of course, using Genta's not hard ones return effect to add a copy of Gates of the Dark World. So, alright. We're going to do that. Gates effect here. We're not going to be doing that yet. Alright, so we're going to use the Zombie Vampire. Effect Veiler. And then we're fine here. We're going to actually fix our hand with Yugioh now. I could put back the Archives, but I can't for Gore. But alright, Ceruli effect now. Ceruli. Pitch Rainbow. We're going to add cards to essentially deck then a little bit. Pitch a card. Special summon a card. We're going to do the special summon effect here. Effect. And now we're going to do the loopity. So, alright. Special summon the Ceruli. Now we're going to return that to the hand. We're going to return this. And I realized a bit too late now that I actually messed up. Because I summoned like the wrong cards. I believe, right? Yeah. Something like that. So I waste my normal summon here. I was supposed to make Link 2, so I was running out of time. So I was just doing actions, essentially. So I needed different names for Apollosa, so that's what that was. And then, Ceruli. Pitch. Summon Ceruli. Shocker. And now we're just going to grab Full Force Virus. And we have Eradicator set. So, yeah. The chain order is going to be Eradicator Declare spell, and then we're going to Full Force. And if our opponent has any Tenpai cards, they're all essentially going to the graveyard one way or another. So yeah, that's some brutal tech right there. Full Force Virus, I think, is pretty decent. Eradicator, it's fine. But yeah, we have some more plays, and I was about to just more or less set up an end board. So I believe the last play was to return that, make Hope Harbinger, we set the session, and then we throw out like whatever card. I think the card that we were probably going to discard for hand size limit, if we do have hand size limit to worry about. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nope, we don't have to worry about it. I played around hand size limit. That was part of why I resolved everything the way I did. So yeah, we're fine in that regard. So yeah. That's another hand loop done and another board made. And yeah, this is just part of the combo, I guess. Cerulean, honestly, I think is kind of just like a little bit of a bad card, except for the hand that, or except for the fact that it hand loops. So yeah, that's essentially a Danger Dark World. So I can share the list here. It's not like that great because I dropped like a division with it. You know, I went from Master 3 to Master 4. Very epic. But yeah, I didn't get that many Tenpai players, or whenever I got hit by a Tenpai, I was unlucky enough to face the Tenpai player that runs Droll for whatever reason. Legitimately, what deck are you even trying to Droll? Voiceless Voice? Uh, can you Droll that? I guess you can Droll that. That's like fair, I guess. But a lot of other decks you can't Droll, can you? Can you actually? Maybe you can, but there are a good few decks that you can't Droll, right? Like, if I recall correctly, Yubel is fairly hard to Droll if specifically they do not open Dark Beckoning Beast. There isn't much to Droll here. But yeah. For a more normal list, I would recommend removing a bunch of the funny tech cards I just put in for fun. So I don't think Puppetry is actually useful for anything right now, so probably just remove Puppetry. And Full Force, Eradicator, Dark World Punishment is kind of funny, but you can remove that as well. Dark World Dealings is pretty optional if you want to play that or not. Trade-in, you can play that if you want or not. Trade-in is just whatever. Beginning of the End, you can play this as a 2 of or 1 of, would not recommend this as a 3 of. Whatever is fine with this. Genta at 3 is something you definitely want to do. Brow is not required at all. 3's no for sure. And you want to max out on, for sure, absolutely for sure, 100% Danger Nessie, Danger Jackalope, and Tsuchinoko. Chupacabra is nice because it's a level 4 to make Duke Garrus. It's also a fiend to banish in the graveyard with the Gates of Dark World, alongside Dugaris being a possible guy you can banish with the copy or with your field spell effect. So that's nice, I guess. And Drag Down into the Grave, I would not recommend. It is funny and it allows you to tell kind of what your opponent's on, which is nice, but it's kind of circumstantial when it really pops off. So best case scenario for Drag Down into the Grave is you have some really good targets. Like, let's say my hand is Snow with Drag Down into the Grave. Then if I activate Drag Down into the Grave, my opponent will have to send Snow. Then I can send whatever from their hand that might be annoying to me. And then we both draw one afterwards. Which isn't too big of a deal because you can make Apollosa fairly early on. Well, maybe not if you're playing like the build the way I'm playing it right now, but yeah. In general, that's fine. You technically also play like Ken and Gen, and they're an okay normal summon, but I don't really want to draw into Ken and Gen, right? So that's the reason not to play Ken and Gen, I guess. But okay. Triple Tactics, Talents, and Thrust are just like really free to activate because we're giving our opponent Ceruli in this case, and that will activate and it's mandatory. So we can resolve any effective talents that we want. We can resolve anything we want with Thrust here. We can grab anything and immediately activate it. So in the case of Thrust, we could grab Card Destruction, which is pretty hype, or we can grab like one of the virus cards here. So yeah, that is pretty cool. And with Dark Corridor, for some reason, you know, this is a hard once per turn, so I'll run it as just a one of. If we see it, we're happy. If we don't see it, well, I guess that sucks then. Yeah, that's about it, I think. And worth mentioning, I guess, is that Rafa can only use one dark monster. Floorless can use all of your fiend monsters, so this can get really high attack, which is pretty neat, I guess. And this effect is pretty worthless, honestly. Once per turn quick effect, you can target one face-up card you control, discard one card, also your opponent cannot target that face-up card with card effects for the rest of this turn. The only thing good about this effect is it's a quick effect to discard, to like trigger like a danger or a Dark World card, like maybe Grapha. That's about all this does, because you want me to do this in chain to something targeting me or what? Like, yeah, not my favorite effect for sure. So let's put it this way: I special summon Clueless, Chaos King of the Dark World, and then my opponent like uses something that targets Clueless, like immediately in chain. Ah, yes, great. So, yeah, that's a pretty painful thing. And what's annoying is that it requires 2+ fiend monsters to make, and it also requires you to play Rainbow Overlord of the Dark World, which is just this guy, who I will say is just straight up like garbage. I guess it does have the effect where if it's discarded by your opponent's card effect, it will allow you to destroy all monsters your opponent controls or all spell traps they control. Also, its special summon does require it to be sent by one of your opponent's discard effects, and does not work if you discard it with something like a danger. It will not summon back. But you do need it to play Clueless. So, yeah. And Clueless, of course, has the effect to destroy all cards your opponent controls. And in fact, quick check. Card once per turn check? Nope. I mean, you would need multiple rainbows, but technically, you could summon Clueless multiple times. Not with a session, because the effect to special summon with a session for some reason is hard once per turn. But this effect's also soft once per turn, so yeah. That's kind of neat, I suppose. And yeah, those are some replays I wanted to share, and just in general show off a bit of how Danger Dark World plays, I guess. There's a lot of degeneracy you can technically do, like since we're playing dangers and whatnot, not that hard to make curious. For example, if I want to send something to the graveyard, and then later make Nightmare Griffin to add back whatever card I sent, right? That is just one idea. And the world is really your oyster when you're playing Danger Dark World. You can do pretty much whatever you want. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.